Let's not beat around the bush. There's this age-old question about whether a tomato is a fruit or a vegetable. Some of your friends would probably answer fruit, sometimes vegetable, or the most common answer that they're both. These are all correct. Hi, I'm Thyme. You may be wondering, what's with that half-assed answer just now? Well, the thing about fruits and vegetables is you can classify them in one of two ways. I'm basing this primarily off a 2009 article in the Journal of Food Composition and Analysis. Links in the description down below. Scientifically, or botanically, it's very black and white. A fruit is the fleshy or dry, ripened ovary of a flowering plant, including the seed or seeds. An ovary is a female reproductive organ, and for plants, they can be fleshy, as in they're soft and pulpy, or dry, as in they're hard and papery. This determines how they ripe and how they disperse, after which the seed can settle and grow into a new plant. This is how flowering plants primarily reproduce. Non-flowering plants instead use spores. A tomato is the fleshy ovary of a flowering tomato plant, and it encloses a bunch of seeds inside. Therefore, botanically, it's a fruit. All fruits have seeds on the inside, and all flowering plants produce fruit, regardless of whether they taste good or are edible at all. This means that peppers, maple keys, chilies, and some nuts like chestnuts, acorns, and hazelnuts are also, botanically, fruits. People know strawberries to be the only fruit with seeds on the outside of the fruit. This is a common misunderstanding. These aren't seeds. These are actually tiny fruits housing a seed inside each one. The same logic goes for cashew nuts. People think it grows outside the food. The cashew apple. The cashew apple is a false fruit, otherwise known as a pseudocarp or accessory fruit. The actual fruit is this one, which shells the cashew nut inside it. Remember, the seed has to be inside. Speaking of nuts, most nuts are actually seeds from fruits. Some of them fruits themselves, and some nuts, like the peanut, is actually not a nut at all. They're legumes, which still makes them fruits by definition, but people still consider them nuts anyway. The whole nut thing is a discussion for another time, so let's move on from fruits to vegetables. Botanically, there is no set definition for vegetable because it's not strictly speaking a botanical term. It's pretty much all the other parts of the plant that is not the fruit, be it roots, stems, leaves, or other auxiliary parts. Botanically, spinach is a leaf, a broccoli is a flower, and a carrot is a root. Because they're not fruits, they're considered vegetables, and therefore a tomato is not a vegetable. Now we move to the culinary or cultural classification for fruits and veggies. The differences in this case are arbitrary and relatively loose. Culinarily, they're classified based on their flavor profile. Fruits tend to be sweet, and vegetables tend to be mild and savory. Botanical fruits that are sweet are very often considered fruits in culinary too, like apples, oranges, pears, bananas, and lots of other well-known fruit. On the other hand, fruits that are savory would be considered vegetables, like olives, cucumbers, eggplants, pumpkins, avocados, pea pods, and, you guessed it, tomatoes. These are all, in a way, both fruit and vegetable. There aren't a lot of botanical vegetables that are considered fruits in culinary, if any. Yams and sweet potatoes can be sweeter than a lot of fruit, but they're still considered veggies by many. Botanically, like potatoes, they're tubers, which are thickened parts of the stem, not legumes like some people think. Another way you can determine if something is a vegetable in culinary is through their texture or if they're consumed during the main part of the meal instead of as a snack or dessert. The World Vegetable Center defines vegetables as mostly herbaceous annual plants of which some portion is eaten, either cooked or raw, during the principal part of the meal to complement starchy food and other food items. But what about potatoes? They're often considered vegetables, but they're high in starch and act as the carb in meals, like rice and bread. They're not the one doing the complementing. Same goes for mung bean and soybean. They're veggies when used as bean sprouts, but starchy food when used as grains. What about papayas and mangoes? They're vegetables when eaten at the immature stage, but consumed as fruits when they're mature. What about melons and watermelons? They're both annual herbaceous species that are in the same family as cucumbers, pumpkins, and zucchini. Some melons are even eaten as cooked vegetables in some countries. You see where I'm going here? As of today, there is no absolutely solid, over encompassing definition for the word vegetable. Unlike the botanical definition for fruits, there is no strictly wrong answer here. Tomatoes are not starchy, they're not that sweet. They're more often than not used during the principal part of the meal to complement starchy ingredients, and they come from the herbaceous tomato plant. On the other hand, maybe tomatoes are sweet where you live. Maybe you don't eat them as complementary food, but by themselves, in which case, you might as well consider them culinary fruits. Bottom line is, botanically, tomatoes are always fruits, and saying otherwise would be categorically incorrect. Culinarily, they are most of the time vegetables. But just as there aren't a set number of continents in the world, these distinctions don't matter that much, so don't stress out too much about it. So now you know, a tomato is a fruit and a vegetable. Sometimes it's just a fruit. Sometimes it's just a vegetable, but it's almost never not a fruit. Thank you for watching and see you next time.